In this video, we'll model the base of a symmetry vase, put it into an assembly with the vase lid we modelled earlier, check for issues, make adjustments and print the part. Along the way, we'll extrude different features from the same sketch, use the magnetic snap command, look at the issue with the design I made in an earlier video and fix it. We'll look at the rotate faces command with the synchronous rotate option. We'll talk about design intent in synchronous mode and how to disable it. We'll export the part from Solid Edge for our 3D printing slicer software and see how the parts go together in the end. I'm tempted to print this, but let's model up the base first and check everything goes together okay. So I'm going to create a new part and I'm going to click Home, Sketch and create a sketch on the top plane and create a rectangle by center point, and we'll put the center point on the origin of our coordinate system and just click, I won't enter any measurements, and we'll just constrain it now with dimensions. So it's 137 by 137 and that's okay. And I'm going to create a circle and again place that on the origin and place another circle on the origin with the center on the origin. And we can think again the visibility isn't great here, so maybe let's go to view, or we can just move to studio. That's better. And we can go back to home, put a smart dimension on this. So this outer circle will give a diameter of 121 millimeters and this inner circle will give a diameter of 85 millimeters. Alright, so I'm just going to tick that box to exit out of our sketch, click finish and cancel. And now we can enter into the extrude command and we're in the option select from sketch since we've already created a sketch to use, and selection type chain. So I'm just going to click on this outer square and right click to finish selection, and we're going to choose a one-sided extent and we're going to choose finite extent. So for the distance it's highlighted, so I'm just going to type in the value 139 and press enter. Now we just need to give it a direction down or up, so click while it's pointing up and right click to finish. So while we're still in the extrude command we can make use of that. First of all, I'm just going to click on the extrude cut option rather than count on automatic, and I'm going to stick with select from sketch. So this time for the select from sketch we can choose this larger circle on our first sketch and just right click to confirm that. And now we have our extent selection, so we're going to go with a one-sided extent, but we can try the from to extent option. So click on that, and for our from surface we can cut from the top face of our part, and then for our to surface we want to cut down 6 millimeters below. So we could have created a plane 6 millimeters below this top plane and we could select that plane, but because we haven't thought that far ahead, we can say we can give an offset of 6, press tab and then choose the same top surface, and now Solid Edge is looking for a direction. So if we look up at our prompt bar, select the side for the offset. So if we look back here, so do we want to offset 6 millimeters above the top face, which would mean we're cutting into air, or below it, which means we're cutting into the part. So while the arrow is pointing down, I click and now Solid Edge creates that cut. So we can right click to confirm that and finish. And we're back into the extrude command again, and this time we can choose the smaller circle. Right click to confirm, and we're going to do the same thing again here. We're doing a from to extent, so this time the from surface doesn't really matter. We can choose this small face here or this big face here, both are okay. So I'm going to choose the top face, and then again the to surface. I have a value here of 123 plus 26. And I'm going to press tab, and our to surface is again offset from the top face of our part. So I click here, and again we're looking for the side for the offset. So we don't want to go up, we want to go down. So I point the arrow down and click while it's pointing down, and we get an update of our part. And I'm just going to right click to accept that, and we've kind of done with our extrudes. I'm just going to click cancel. So there is a pretty good rough representation of our part, so we can just save that. Okay, so it looked a little bit kind of confusing looking at the bottom. So if I hide that sketch, yeah, so I actually made a mistake there. I put in 123 plus 26, and that should have been 123 minus 26. So we can go back to our cutout here, and I can go to dynamic edit, and the depth of our hole is here. So I can just click on that dimension. That's a PMI dimension. So I can just type in 123 minus 26, press enter and just click, and now our error has been corrected. Our hole is no longer passing right through the part. So before we bring the parts together into an assembly to check everything is okay, we can maybe change the color of this just to improve our contrast. So we can go to our style palette, select body, current style replace. Yeah, we could just give it maybe this deep blue here. And while we're at it, we can go to our style palette and select face, current style replace, and we can drag in maybe yellow onto this face. And we just need to select the correct face with quick pick. So this is the face, and I'm just going to choose replace for that and hit save. So now that we have our part, we have both parts modeled up. So let's put them together into an assembly and see how they go together. So I'm going to go up here and choose assembly of active model. We're going to use the default template, and that brings it in grounded. Generally, I don't like to just use a simple grounded relationship for an assembly model. Because this is such a simple assembly, I'm happy enough to leave it grounded. So I'm just going to insert the other part. So we can select insert component, and because our other part is already open, we have it here in our list available to select from the open documents drop down. So I can just drag that part in, and flash fit is automatically selected. But let's instead, this time we'll try magnetic snap, and if I try to drag the part, maybe drag it by this little hole here on the edge, as I bring it in over our other part, you can see Solid Edge is searching for relationships between the axis of that hole I dragged it by and different geometry on the part. So in this case, the edge of the part. And if I move it over the hole in the center of our vase, it tries to make the center of the hole we've selected coaxial with that part. So that isn't what we want. We could select by the center hole of the part here, or selecting by the outer cylinder of the part here. If we do that, now it selects the center axis of the part and tries to align that with different geometry on the part. So if I place it over this hole here, it snaps the axis in line with that. And we also have a setting here if we want to lock or unlock the axial rotation of our lid. So I'm going to leave it locked, and we can just right click to exit magnetic snap. And if we look at the part on the Pathfinder here, we can see it's fully constrained, and we can check our constraints. Maybe I'll click on the right plane, go to PMI, select section by plane, tick this box and click finish. And now if we look at this part, I just click on it on the Pathfinder, and we can see we have the axial align here, and we see the axis of this hole in our vase is aligned with the hole in our lid, the center axis of our lid. We also have a mate constraint down here. And if we look here, we have the bottom face of our lid selected, and we also have the top yellow face of our vase. So that's perfect. It's done all that for us in one go, and I'm very happy with that. So I'm just going to hide that section and hit save. Right, so I'm happy our assembly has gone together correctly, but we can see actually that these holes here, we can see the yellow face through these holes of our vase. So the vase itself is actually blocking over half of the holes all the way around the outside of our part. So let's try and fix that before we print our part. And maybe we can take a look. What are we dealing with here? So smart measure, and we just measure this. We see we remember it's a diameter of 85, this inner hole. So we want the outside of these holes to be inside that 85mm diameter. So I'm just going to press escape to get out of that. Go back to our part and look at sketch 3 where we started, and just click on edit profile. Alright, we're back to where we were here with our visibility. So I'm going to go to view overrides, studio, and we can go here, we can go to home, circle by center point, create as construction, and I'm just going to position it on the center of our circle and give it a smart dimension here and enter 85 into the smart dimension. Close that, and we can see now where the hole of our vase is relative to the holes on our vase. So we want to get this hole here inside that circle. So maybe let's take a little measurement there. So we could go with smart dimension, and we can go show more options and select tangent. Select both circles, and we see the distance here 6.1. So we need to move this hole in 6.1mm for this hole to be against this hole. Okay, so we can choose select. And 6.1, so we could say, I can just click here and delete the millimeters and type in -6. I could say 0.1, or I could say maybe 0.5 just to give myself a little bit of extra clearance. Press enter, and that reduces down. That works out at 3.8, and you see here our dimension is updated. We have 0.4mm clearance. I can tick this box and select finish, and there is our part updated. And we can go back to our assembly, and that's updated too. We can't see any yellow from that face. Well, we can a little bit here. We can't see any yellow from that face through these holes, so we have no interference there. And we can turn on our section view just to confirm that, and we can see that the edge of this hole is very close to the edge of the hole inside. And we could go a step further and go to inspect, measure minimum distance, select this hole, and we see the minimum distance is 0.4 millimeters, just like we worked out on our sketch. That's fine, but I don't actually like that, because if we're putting flowers in here and we're putting flowers in here, there isn't really room for them to, they're just squishing in against each other. So maybe we could do something a little bit better. I'm happy with the position along the radius of the part, but maybe we could rotate them so these holes were staggered instead of in a line, in lines like this. So we can maybe go to Home, Sketch, and we just draw a sketch here on this plane, and we can go to Project to Sketch, and we can just, we can select the Project Internal Face Loops option, and now I'm just going to choose the bottom face of our part, right click, and right click. Okay, so now I'm just going to close that sketch, and if we draw a line as construction, and if we draw from the center of this hole to the center of our central hole and across again to this hole here, and if I just right click to exit out of the sketch, and if we create an angle dimension here between both of these lines, we have 36 degrees. So we have 10 holes doing a full circle around here. 10 times 36 degrees makes 360 degrees. So instead of having these holes where they're kind of lined up like this and very too close together, what if we rotated them so that they were halfway between these two inside ones here? So that would mean rotating all of these holes here by 18 degrees on our model. So let's take a look at how that works. So I'm just going to click Finish for the sketch and cancel. And maybe we'll just hide that sketch as well. So I'm just going to hide sketch 3 as well. And we can go up here to Move Faces. And I'm just going to click on that drop down and choose Rotate Faces. And we get this menu here. So select Faces. And we have different options here. Face, Feature, or Body. So we could select all of the individual faces. The body would just rotate the whole part. And feature here, let's take a look at feature, because feature is probably the most efficient way for us to do this. As we hover over part items on our pathfinder, we can see them selected. The feature is selected on the part. So I can click on pattern 3 and that selects almost every part. It's all the patterned holes in our feature, but we just all the patterned holes on the outside of our part, and cutout 3 is the source of those patterned holes. So that's all of those selected now. So I'm just going to tick on this box to select those, and now we've gone into select axis. So click to reposition the steering wheel. Okay, so we could do a synchronous rotate, rotate by points, or rotate by geometry. I like synchronous. Synchronous is cool, so let's do a synchronous rotate. So I'm going to click on the center of our steering wheel and just move it to the center of the central hole on our part. And now I'm going to click on this donut of our steering wheel, and you can see the holes rotate around. Oh, you can see something funky going on, because we have the holes around our part. We have this one little rogue hole here in the middle that's kind of going around and doing its own thing. Okay, so I'm just going to I'm going to go back to select faces and see what's selected here. That looks okay. So I'm going to tick on this box, click on the center of the steering wheel, move it back where we want it on the central hole of our part. And I was zoomed in there. So we have our design intent here. So the design intent has automatically selected aligned holes on the YZ plane. Yeah. There's the YZ plane, and these two holes are aligned in that plane. So Solid Edge was saying, even though I haven't selected this hole, to bring this in as well, because they're aligned, it's kind of assuming that I intend to do the same operations on this hole because it's aligned with this hole. But actually, we don't want to keep those, we don't want to select that automatically. So I'm just going to untick that box here. So I'm just going to turn off our design intent here. And now I'm going to click on the donut. And now it's just the outer holes rotating. It's not rotating the inner holes. It's not getting too smart for us. And we know we want to rotate by half of 36 degrees, which is 18 degrees. I can just type that in and hit enter. And we can see the PMI here displaying the dimension that's moved. They're all rotated by. And now we have this nice kind of staggered hole pattern where none of the holes are kind of too close together, which is exactly what we want. So I'm just going to click finish here. and cancel. And if we save that part and take a look back at our assembly, we're still looking at the section view, but it actually looks much nicer. Okay, and we could maybe do another section view. So I'm going to click on this plane here and go to PMI section by plane, tick this box and select finish. And now if we look at our part here, we can see the hole here. Nice little bit of clearance from the edge, and all of the flowers will go into our pot, no problem. The only thing I don't like about this is it looks a little bit cobbled together. We have this kind of step down in height from our vase to our top. So maybe we could actually fix that. So we'll go to inspect and we can go to, measure normal distance from the top of our part to this level here is 6 millimeters. So we can go to this part. Let's just click go to for cutout 1. And I'm just going to click go to for sketch 4. Yeah, so that's where it happens. Let's show sketch 4. And that's the sketch that kind of defines our shape. So I'm going to click on sketch 4 and choose edit profile. And here's our profile. So we have 2 millimeters here. So I'm going to click on that dimension, drag it out here. I'm just going to type 6 and press enter. Oh, there we go. So we've kept the same radius and we've just added a little bit of flat here. And I'm just going to tick this box, click finish and go to the final feature on our Pathfinder, and there's our part. Just going to hit save on that, go back to our assembly and just take a look at it from the side there, and everything looks a little bit more seamless. And just make it look more kind of thought out and put together. So we can turn off our section, hit save, and now maybe we could bring that part into our slicing software. So I'm going to export this part. We can go to save as translated, and what's common for 3D printing is STL files, but my slicer also accepts step documents, so I'm going to choose that. I just like it because it's a solid and it's a little bit better for me. So I'm going to go to options. Our options look okay, so I'm just going to click save and the file gets translated to a step file. I'm going to right click here and go open document folder, and we have our step file here, and we can just grab this step file and drag it in to Prusa Slicer. And I'm going to accept the high settings here for quality, just accept the defaults here. There's our part, and we just click arrange just to make sure it's set on okay. And I'm kind of happy. We have a kind of a 0.6 millimeter nozzle for our print settings. I'm going to say maybe 3 perimeters, and then for horizontal shells for the top 5, I'm going to maybe choose 3, and for the bottom I'm going to select 0. And the reason for that 0 is if any water this is going to be outdoors, so water is likely to kind of go down, seep through the layers and get into the part. And what I want to happen is that if it does that, I just want it to pass right through the part and into our vase. So I'm putting 0 layers on the bottom. It'll save a little tiny bit of material, but the main reason is I don't want the part kind of filling up with water and then getting damaged from that. Okay, so I've actually accidentally moved it off the print area, so we're just going to arrange again. As well, we could use variable layer height, and we have it at the default settings here. And let me just take a look. Can kind of preview the height as we kind of move the mouse up along. On the right hand side here is showing the different layers, and as we get towards the top, that's where the layer height, the layers get very obvious. So maybe we want to kind of get a thinner layer towards the top. So I'm just dragging this line across here. And yeah, 0.15 millimeters seems to be the minimum layer height, and that's just happening after our outer set of holes. And that looks pretty good to me actually, just to kind of round off our part a little bit better. So we can slice it, and now we can kind of look through the different layers as the part prints. So we see the infill here, and then as it goes up through the print, that looks pretty good. I'm tempted even just to maybe reduce the infill to 10% and slice that. Yeah, that's totally fine. We can save that project and export that G-code. Oh yeah, I should have said we're printing this out of PETG, which is a good kind of all-round material and suitable for use outdoors. I've cleaned up the vase base and printed the top part. The first thing I noticed with the printed part was that I used a brim on the print, which was kind of stupid. There was no need for it. We'll try and remove the part from the print sheet. Whoop, that was a nice pop. And there's our underside of the base where we have our part kind of hollow. And I'm just going to trim off this brim now. Okay, so there's our part. We've given it a nice trim. And the only thing left now is to maybe try it for fit. We have our base and we'll just try and pop it on there. And there we go. Nice little fit there. And I'm glad we added that little bit of extra height because it just feels like the belong together, basically, the top and that base. Yeah, I'm happy enough with that. We've saved something from landfill. In our next video, we're going to continue on with the Lego Castle series, so hopefully see you in that one. Enjoy.